really like Honda Elements, and I've had quite a few. It's probably one of the most practical cars that you can possibly still get. And I wanted to talk to you about the disadvantages of owning a Honda Element. Now, regarding the off-road, this car, the all-wheel drive versions, are pretty capable. They're big and they're heavy, so you can't really do any like tough single track sort of stuff, but you're capable of going off-road. First, before I get into the disadvantages, the Honda Element is great and it holds its resale value. One of the downsides of the Honda Element is that a lot of times this windshield will leak. And it's probably the only time I've seen cars leak from the windshield consistently. It all happens right about here, where things tend to rust right here. Even this element has got some rust elements here. Even though in the video it's hard to see, you can see a little bit of the rust on top of that windshield. And it's just something that a lot of elements have. The Honda Element does not get great gas mileage. So if you want a daily commuter, there's much better cars for that, because this one gets like 22 miles to the gallon, maybe 25 on the highway. It's not great for 2019 when most cars get like 40 miles to the gallon. An SUV now gets close to 30 miles to the gallon. Just something to keep in mind. Sometimes on these Elements, the key assembly here gets stuck and you have to oil it, but a lot of times this goes bad. This one works fine. See, right now it is stuck, so it's kind of a weird thing that happens with these Elements. Another thing to keep in mind is that the shocks in this car do go bad, and there's quite a bit of things in here that do go bad. The Honda Element's got one of the worst starter positions ever, so it's a very difficult job to do on this Element. I know that Eric, the car guy, he was able to get it without too much trouble, but it's still something to think about if you plan on keeping this car for a long time, is the ease of maintenance. And the starter on this is not very easy to get to. The driver's seat on the Honda Elements gets pretty worn out. You can see this one is pretty broken up. And that's the reason a lot of owners put the seat covers on these. But there's no way around it. All of the Elements go bad like this. Every Element that I've had this. And every Element that I've ever seen had this sort of wear pattern. It's pretty typical of like large trucks and stuff, because you have to kind of get into it and you climb over it. So it's not like a car, but usually even cars with some wear have this. It just, I kind of wish that Honda built a better seat right here or reinforced it. But it is what it is. Like all of them have this problem. This one's got a nice armrest, but it's very like flimsy. A lot of them don't have a center console to, you know, put stuff in there. So you're gonna have to do without it, or you can buy an aftermarket center console. But it would be nice if Honda included it in the Honda Element. This Honda Element does not have a hitch, but if it did, it's got a very low weight that you can haul on the Element. Just something to keep in mind, because a lot of people do take motorcycles and boats and jet skis around with this car. It does not pull like a pickup truck would. So also, given the age of the car and the fact that they've discontinued the Honda Element, you're going to have to become a vulture. You're going to have to find parts online. A lot of cars are salvaged, so you're going to have to find cars that you can find used and you can take pieces off, because the parts for these are becoming very scarce as time goes on, and people really like these, and people are just willing to pay a whole lot more money than parts are worth. Keep in mind that the Honda Element is only a 4-seater. There's only 2 seats here in the back, and a lot of times these cars are basically bought from families that have like 3 kids. So if you have 3 kids, and I'm assuming you have a wife, this is a kind of a tough family car, because it only allows 2 people to sit in the back. because it only has 2 seat belts. Legally, you can't sit 3. So there are quite a few disadvantages to owning this vehicle. The main one is really the miles per gallon. You only get 25 miles per gallon, and of course the parts on this are very scarce. Like, you can't really find them anywhere other than junkyards and online, because they don't really make it anymore. They don't make it. So you have a car that's people really love, and people will kind of scavenge for parts and kind of fight to look for parts. It's a great looking vehicle. I really like this car, but it does have some downsides, so consider those before you buy one of these.